If your spouse handles some of the bills in your house, ask yourself something. When was the last time you actually looked at every account? Because I trusted my wife for 11 years, and it took one question from a mortgage lender to show me what that trust had cost us. He turned his monitor toward me and said, "Caleb, can you explain these 3 credit cards?" I stared at the screen. 3 accounts, all in Natalie's name. Total balance, $47,286. I thought there had to be a mistake. Then I looked at my wife. She wasn't confused. She was terrified. And that's when I knew those cards weren't the secret. They were covering one. My name is Caleb Mercer. I was 39, married to Natalie for 11 years, and we lived with our 8-year-old daughter outside Raleigh, North Carolina. We weren't wealthy, but I thought we were responsible. I worked as a warehouse operations manager. Natalie handled scheduling and insurance paperwork at a physical therapy clinic. Together, we made about $132,000 a year. We drove a 6-year-old SUV and an older sedan. We ordered pizza on Friday nights. We compared prices at the grocery store. And for nearly 4 years, we'd been saving for one thing: our first house. Nothing huge, 3 bedrooms, a backyard for our daughter, a neighborhood where she could ride her bike without us worrying. Our house fund had reached $56,400. I remember looking at that balance the night before our mortgage appointment and thinking, we finally did it. 24 hours later, I was wondering whether I knew anything about our finances at all. Natalie barely spoke during the drive home. Finally, I asked, "How do you hide $47,000 from your husband?" She whispered, "I was handling it." Handling it? The minimum payments alone were more than $1,300 a month. That wasn't handling debt, that was feeding it. When we got home, Natalie went upstairs. I went straight to the cabinet where we kept tax returns, insurance paperwork, and old statements. Behind a folder of our daughter's school records, I found 3 envelopes, 3 cards, 3 balances. $18,640, $16,211, $12,435. Exactly $47,286. But something didn't make sense. I expected designer clothes, expensive restaurants, maybe vacations I somehow hadn't noticed. Instead, most of the charges looked like our life. Groceries, gas, pharmacy purchases, school supplies, utility payments, normal expenses from a normal family. Then I found the transactions that weren't normal. Cash advances, payments to a collection agency, a hospital billing service, and 18 months earlier, a $6,800 transfer. I didn't recognize the recipient, so I opened our joint checking account and searched backward. That's when I saw something I'd ignored for almost 2 years. Every month, Natalie had transferred between $1,300 and $1,500 into a separate account labeled N. Mercer Personal. I'd asked about those transfers once. She told me that account covered childcare, household purchases, school expenses, and bills she managed. And I believed her. Because when you've been married 11 years, you don't treat your marriage like an audit. At least, I didn't. Natalie came downstairs and saw the $6,800 transaction on my laptop. She stopped halfway across the kitchen. I asked, "Who did you send this money to?" She didn't answer. "Natalie, who got $6,800? Her eyes filled with tears. Then she said something I wasn't prepared for. "My mother." I almost felt relieved, until Natalie added, "But that wasn't the first time." She sat down and covered her face. Then she told me the 3 credit cards hadn't started with shopping. They hadn't started with vacations. They hadn't even started with us. For almost 3 years, Natalie had been quietly paying for a financial crisis inside her own family. And she'd been using credit cards to make sure I never saw how much money was disappearing. Then I asked the question that changed everything. Did any of it come from our house fund? Natalie looked at me and didn't answer. That's when I realized the $47,286 might not be the number that destroyed our plan to buy a home. The number I needed to see was $56,400. Natalie didn't answer my question, so I opened the account myself. For 4 years, every bonus, tax refund, and extra dollar we could spare had gone into that house fund. The balance I remembered was $56,400. The balance on the screen was $38,920. I refreshed the page. Same number. Nearly $17,500 was gone. And suddenly, the 3 hidden credit cards weren't our only problem. I turned the laptop toward Natalie. "Where is it?" She started crying. Then she told me the truth. 3 years earlier, her mother, Diane, had been struggling after losing her job. At first, Natalie helped with groceries, then a utility bill, then a car repair. A few $100s here, $500 there. I would have understood that. What Natalie never told me was that her mother was already carrying thousands of dollars in unpaid medical bills and other debt, and every emergency seemed to create another one. Natalie didn't want her mother to lose her apartment, so she paid one bill, then another. When our checking account couldn't absorb it anymore, she opened the first credit card. She told herself she'd pay it off after her next bonus. She didn't. Then Diane needed $6,800 to cover several overdue expenses and keep herself afloat. That was the transfer I'd found. By then, Natalie was already afraid to tell me, so she opened the second card, then the third. But I still didn't understand the house fund. You took $17,000 from our daughter's future home? Natalie shook her head. Not all at once. Somehow, that made it worse. It had happened slowly enough that I never noticed. A $900 withdrawal, then $1,200, then $2,000. Whenever money came in, Natalie would sometimes put part of it back. Our balance kept moving. I kept seeing a large number, and I never compared it to what should have been there. That's how $17,480 disappeared without one dramatic transaction. Then, Natalie told me something that made the entire situation even harder to process. Her mother didn't know about the credit cards. Diane thought Natalie and I were helping together. For 3 years, my wife had been protecting her mother from knowing the truth, while protecting me from knowing the truth, and financing both lies with debt. I wasn't angry that she'd helped her mom. I was angry that she'd made financial decisions for our family without me. Our home buying lender called the next afternoon. The hidden balances had changed the financial picture he'd originally reviewed with us. Our home buying plan was no longer moving forward the way we'd expected. The house we'd toured twice, we walked away from it. Our daughter had already picked which bedroom she wanted. That night, she asked why we weren't moving anymore. I told her, we just need more time. She shrugged and went back to coloring. Natalie left the room. I found her crying in the bathroom. That should have made me feel sorry for her. Instead, I kept thinking about every Friday night we'd skipped dinner out, every time I said, let's save it for the house, every extra shift I'd taken. We had both made sacrifices, but only one of us knew where some of that sacrifice was actually going. 2 days later, Natalie and I sat at the kitchen table with every statement we could find. No more hidden accounts, no more estimates, no more I'll handle it. We listed everything. 3 credit cards, $47,286. Money missing from the house fund, $17,480. Then I asked Natalie whether there was anything else. She said no. I asked again. Anything. I need to know now. She looked me directly in the eyes. No, that's everything. And for the first time in 11 years, I didn't know whether I believed my wife. Then her phone lit up on the table, a text from her mother. Natalie reached for it. I saw only the first line. I got another notice about the loan. I looked at Natalie. She went completely still.
What loan? Natalie stared at her phone. Then she put it face down. And that tiny movement told me everything. There was more. She took a breath. Mom took out a personal loan last year. How much? About $14,000. I felt my chest tighten. Then I asked the question I was almost afraid to ask. Is your name on it? Natalie shook her head. No. For half a second, I felt relief. Then she whispered, but I've been making the payments. There it was, another monthly expense hidden inside the life I thought I understood. About $430 a month for almost a year. Natalie had been using money from her personal account to keep her mother's loan current while minimum payments piled up across the 3 credit cards. This wasn't one bad decision, it was a system. One secret paying for another, one balance hiding another. And every month, the cost of keeping me from finding out got more expensive. I asked Natalie why she never came to me. Her answer surprised me. Because I knew what you'd say. She was right. I would have wanted boundaries. I would have wanted to see her mother's finances before sending thousands of dollars. I would have said we couldn't sacrifice our own stability indefinitely to solve someone else's financial problems. Natalie thought that meant I wouldn't care, but that wasn't the problem. She never gave me the chance to care. The next weekend, we sat down with Diane. Natalie finally told her everything. The cards, the missing house money, the loan payments. Diane looked horrified. She genuinely believed most of the help had come from money Natalie and I could afford. She had no idea her daughter was carrying $47,286 in credit card balances, partly to keep helping her. That conversation changed something. For the first time, the secret stopped growing. Natalie stopped paying Diane's loan. Diane contacted the lender herself to discuss her options and began working through her own finances. Then Natalie and I dealt with ours. We didn't use the remaining $38,920 house fund to make the problem disappear overnight. We first built a complete picture of our balances, interest rates, minimum payments, monthly expenses, and emergency savings needs. Then we created a repayment plan. The home purchase was postponed. Subscriptions disappeared. Weekend spending changed. Natalie took extra hours at the clinic. I picked up overtime when it was available. But the hardest part wasn't the debt. It was rebuilding trust. For months, we had a weekly money meeting at the same kitchen table where I discovered everything. Every account, every balance, every payment, nothing hidden. Sometimes those conversations lasted 15 minutes. Sometimes they ended in arguments, but we kept having them. A year later, we still hadn't bought the house. Our daughter still didn't have the backyard we'd promised her, and we still had debt left to repay. But for the first time in years, I knew exactly where our money was going. Natalie once told me she thought hiding the problem was protecting our family. I told her something I wish we'd both understood earlier. You can't protect a marriage with information only one person has. Helping family wasn't what nearly destroyed us. The secrecy did. The first hidden card made the second easier. The second made the third easier. And eventually $47,286 in debt and $17,480 missing from our house fund became easier for Natalie to hide than one uncomfortable conversation. I still love my wife. I also learned that love doesn't replace financial transparency. If you share a mortgage, savings account, children, or financial future with someone, you both need to understand the numbers shaping that future. Not because you're expecting betrayal, because problems are easier to solve when they're small enough to talk about. We didn't get our house that year, but we stopped building our future on secrets. And, after everything that happened, that became the first thing we could finally afford to rebuild together. What would hurt you more? Discovering $47,000 in hidden debt, or realizing your spouse had been hiding it from you for years? Could you rebuild the trust after something like this? Share your thoughts below, and don't forget like and subscribe to Dollar Confessions for more money mistake stories.